Welcome to Grief and Brief. This is Henry Ford Sandcastles, and my name is Peggy. Today, we are going to talk about children's literature related to grief, and I have the honor of being joined by several of our team members who've chosen one of their favorite children's grief books, and they're going to tell us about it. So, Tim, you want to share first?
Yeah, the book I chose was The Invisible String by Patrice Karst. Thinking of age group, I think it could really be for, say, a pre-K child to a teen. I also have used this in the adult group. A quick kind of storyline of the book. There's two young children who are sleeping. During the night, there's a large, loud storm that wakes them up. The children are scared by the storm. They go to their mom in another room. Their mom then explains the idea of the invisible string, that even when they are apart, they are always connected by an invisible string made of love. And thinking about the idea as far as how this might be used, I think it's really unlimited as far as how you might use it. And really, I look at, say, the theme or the idea with the book that even when we might be separated, be apart from, let's say, those in our life, we are always connected by an invisible string.
I agree. That is one of my favorite books, and you can use it for a lot of different things. So, highly recommend. Thanks, Tim. All right, Lizzie Ann, how about you?
Hi, I am really excited to share a book called Always Remember by Cece Meng, and it is illustrated by Jago. And I say that because the illustrations are beautiful. And it is a wonderful story about old turtle who swims his last swim and breathes his last breath. And as he waves gently, the waves gently take him away. All of his sea animal friends think back on how much better their lives are because Old Turtle had been with him. And so they share their memories and they share their stories. And it's a wonderful opportunity as well to not only continue to tell the story, so we have activities we do related to sharing your story, but also the memories and how the memories will always be there, and how using that in relationship to the person who died in their life, it would be an opportunity to continue that conversation about how they continue to influence their lives and all that they learned and were taught by their presence, even though they may be not here anymore in this realm. Age group would be probably starting about 5 years of age up until 10. However, this is a beautiful book, and as was suggested, the adults would benefit as well. And I would say middle school age would also have a chance to talk about maybe those more abstract concepts about life and living after death.
Awesome. Beautiful book. Thank you, Lizzie. All right. Next up is Katie.
All right. So the book that I have is quite a fan favorite among sandcastles, and it's called The Rabbit Listened by Corey Doerrfeld. It is requested for ages 3 to 5 years old, but as mentioned with the other books, I think it would be great for any age group. We use this book in our facilitator training for sandcastles, and even as adults, they get a lot out of it. So the main story of this book is a young child named Taylor builds a castle out of blocks, and then some animals come and knock it down. And then as the book progresses, other animals come in to try to help Taylor cope with the feelings that Taylor is having, whether that be through anger or through hiding from the feelings. And eventually, a rabbit comes in and just sits with Taylor in that discomfort and just listens. And from that, Taylor feels comfortable enough to open up and begin expressing those feelings more openly. So it's a really great reminder that when children are going through grief, we want to meet them where they're at. We want to respect their needs, and we want to listen to them. Because at the end of the day, sometimes when people are feeling a certain way, they just need somebody to listen before being able to express those emotions and that discomfort. And it's also a great reminder that it's okay to sit in silence with somebody. Sometimes that can be difficult, but sometimes that's what we need to do. There are also some great read aloud options for this book online that we have used in our virtual programming. And we have read this book aloud at our Navigators program, as well as our biweekly Connections programs. And it has received 2 thumbs up from all of the kids, as well as many of the adults. So, a great option for anyone going through grief.
Thank you, Katie. That is a fan favorite. I agree with you. It the the power of listening can never be underestimated. All right. Thank you. All right, Kelly, next up.
I chose for one of my very favorites a book called You'll Find Me. And the author for this book is Amanda Hill. The suggested age range given was 5 to 9. It is a picture book. But I do think that it could generate conversation for any age level. The book begins by kind of recognizing and acknowledging the missing or longing of someone who maybe didn't have enough time with. And then it goes through and gives suggestions for all the places you might still find that person's essence. So some like really beautiful ideas, like in a soft sound, in the wind, in nature, in somebody's laughter, all kinds of different ways that we would still be connected, and kind of talks through that idea of continuing bonds. I think it generates great conversations for any age because you can talk about the unique ways that we have in connection with our own people, which, could be so many varied different things to keep us connected, and just really highlighting those beautiful, unique ways that we can stay connected to our people who we have loved and are missing.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of what we consider the third task of grief at SandCastles. So continuing bonds are a way. Does not take away love. So I love that book. Thank you. All right, Jen, you're up next.
Everyone, I have a special book here that has been one of my all-time favorites, but not as easy to find. It's called The Brightest Star by Kathleen Maresh Hemery, and it walks through lots of different facets of grief. The current version I had has a copyright over 20 years old, and I know there's a new version out there, but I haven't had laid hands on it. So this is a book that has lots of words in it. And it walks through Molly and the story of her family with her mommy and daddy. And they spent lots of time when her mommy was alive going to the beach. And her mom's favorite part was to always look for the brightest star. After Molly's mom gets very, very sick, she dies, and it walks through some of the challenges Molly faces and they have at home. She makes some funny comments about daddy learning how to cook and making lumpy mashed potatoes and burning the hamburgers and having to order out for pizza and stuff like that. And then one day at school, I'm just going to read a section of this. My teacher, Miss Baylor, was nice. The one day she stood up in the front of the room and she smiled at us. At the end of the week, your parents will come to school. We'll have an open house. I want each of you to draw a picture of your family doing something you all enjoy doing together. But don't put your name on the picture. Your parents will try to guess which picture you drew. Parents, I felt sick inside. I didn't have parents anymore. My mommy had died. I just had my daddy now. Miss Baylor passed out the paper and crayons. She said we could work on our pictures all week, but we had to have them finished by Friday. I sat looking at the blank paper. I could feel tears filling up the bottom of my eyes. All the kids were starting to grin as they draw their pictures. So the book goes through the next few days of the week, and Molly lies to her teacher. She lies to her dad. She doesn't tell him about the open house or the picture. She tells the teacher she thinks she needs to take her paper home to draw her picture, but she was really lying. Her teacher tries to be helpful, suggests adding her grandma in the picture. But Molly ultimately, I believe Thursday of that week, ends up telling her dad that she misses her mommy so much. And sometimes she gets scared because when she closes her eyes and tries to think of her, she can't remember exactly what she looked like. She then opens up and tells him about the picture for the open house. And in that moment, Daddy said, "Let's get your jacket. We're going to the beach." So they head to the beach and they do one of the activities they hadn't done in a very long time. And Molly looks for the brightest star. And her dad is very comforting. And he reminds her that anytime she's feeling lonely for mommy, to just look at the night sky for the brightest star and remember how much mommy loves you. And he reassures her that he loves her that much too. And at the very end of the book, she says, "I got up early the next morning. I had to draw my picture for the open house. I knew exactly what I wanted to draw." So it's a really kind of encompasses all facets of grief, memories, the struggles after someone dies, how much change that happens at home and then at school, and activities you're expected to do, and people trying to be helpful in your world to accommodate for the loss. But in essence, sometimes that makes it a lot harder and a lot more challenging. And so also the coming together of Molly and her dad and figuring out the best way to include her mom in her picture. And again, the version I have has a lot of words. There is a new, this book can be purchased from the Centering Corporation, and it does have a new illustrator with some different types of pictures, but the story itself is very helpful. We've used it in family night activities. I've used it in all age groups. And we've also used it as a tool in the adult group. So back to you, Peggy.
Thanks, Jen. So many teachable moments and good opportunities to talk with your kids around that book. All right, next up we have Charlie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Charlie, like Charlie Brown, and I'm going to tell you about one of my favorite books about grief. So it's kind of a tender book, and it talks about a lot of big questions. It's called A Garden of Creatures, and it is written by Sheila Heti, and it is illustrated by Esma Shapiro. This book is geared towards smaller kids. So I would say it's probably geared towards ages about 3 to 8. And it just sheds a light on the big questions we ask after someone dies. A quote from the book is, "It's hard to believe that every creature who lives here must die. Why does the world work this way?" So this book is about 2 bunnies and a cat that live in a garden. And in the very beginning of the book, one of the bunnies becomes sick and dies. And it prompts reflection in the other animals to make sense of the death and why does death happen. This book makes it normal to wonder about the mystery of death and the questions it leaves with you. I think that the author impacts wisdom about the continuing bonds that we have with those who have died and their presence in our own gardens. I like this book because it reminds me of spring. I also love it because it's beautifully illustrated. And if it doesn't have beautiful illustrations, I'm probably not interested in it. But it depicts how interconnected we are and how we lean on each other in friendship. And it emphasizes the things about us that are similar. So that is what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your favorite grief books. Hope this has been helpful to our listening audience. And know that if you want more ideas or resources, we're happy to assist. Just give us a call here at Henry Ford SandCastles and we'll pass it on. So until next time, take care and thanks.